Hello, I'm Don Crawley from SoundTraining.net. We're the Seattle, Washington-based provider of accelerated training for IT professionals. You can find us online at www.soundtraining.net. Today we're going to do the basics of configuring transparent firewall mode on the Cisco ASA security appliance. Our demo firewall is a 5505, but the concept should apply regardless of whether you're using a 5505 or a 5510, 20, 40, or 50. So here we go. Your firewall can operate in one of two modes, either routed mode, which is the default, or transparent mode. In routed mode, your firewall is acting like a layer 3 device. There's a different inside and outside subnet. In transparent mode, it's acting like a bridge, a layer 2 device, and you have the same inside and outside subnets. Why would you want to do this? Well, first of all, if you already have a network set up, it makes it very simple to add a firewall to the network. You don't need to do any renumbering, for example. And a transparent firewall operating as a layer 2 device can pass certain types of traffic that are blocked by a routed firewall operating as a layer 3 device. For example, routing protocol adjacencies or non-IP traffic, such as AppleTalk, IPX, and MPLS. Take a look at this diagram and you'll notice a couple of things that are different. First of all, in transparent mode, your firewall is no longer your gateway. Notice that the firewall's inside and outside addresses are the same, and in fact your router's inside address is the gateway for your devices. Notice that the three PCs each have different IP addresses, of course, but their gateway address is set to the router's inside address. It is not set to the firewall, since the firewall is operating in transparent mode. Frankly, the firewall's address, the IP address that you see on it, is used really just for management. This is an important point. You want to be sure to set your firewall mode before you make other configuration changes, especially if you write it into a text file that you apply. Because as soon as you change the mode, the firewall basically blows away most of the rest of its configuration. So that also would bring up a good point, and that is to make sure you have a backup before you change the firewall mode. Here are the configuration steps. It's really pretty straightforward. First thing is you set the mode, then you assign a global IP address to the device. You assign interface names. Typically you're going to use inside and outside, and when you do that, by the way, the firewall will, just like in routed mode, assign security levels to the interfaces. So it will assign a security level of 100 to the inside interface and 0 to the outside. If you want to manage your firewall through the ASDM, the Adaptive Security Device Manager, you have two more steps you have to do. Number one is you have to enable the HTTP server, and number two, you have to identify the IP range allowed to use the ASDM. So that's much like what you have to do on a firewall in routed mode. So let's go ahead and configure the ASA in transparent mode. I'm going to use PuTTY to do the configuration in the command line. If you're not using PuTTY, strongly recommend it. It's free and it's a great tool. First thing we need to do is go into configuration mode. So config T, now we're in configuration mode. And let's actually change the mode of the firewall. So we'll use the command firewall transparent. It'll take a moment to switch over. And now we're in transparent mode. And we can view the mode by using the command show firewall. Notice that it says, as we expected, we're in transparent mode. Now, first thing we need to do is assign a global IP address to the device. Remember that we're going to have an inside and outside interface, but we'll only have one IP address on the device, because basically the device is not an IP device, it's really a layer 2 device. This is just for management. So IP address 192.168.1.6. Notice that we don't have to use a subnet explicitly because we're just using a standard Class C 24-bit mask. Now we need to go in and configure the interfaces. So let's first go to interface E0/0 and let's assign it to VLAN 1, VLAN 2 actually. Switch port, access, VLAN 2. If you're using a 5510, 20, 40, or 50, you're not going to need to worry about this, but on the 5505 with the built-in switch, we have to assign it to VLANs. And let's make sure and turn it on, so no shut. Then interface E0/1, switch port, access, VLAN 1, and no shut. Now let's name the interfaces. So interface VLAN 2, name if outside. Oops. It's supposed to know what I meant. Notice that it automatically sets the security level for an interface named outside to 0 by default, and when we do the same thing on interface VLAN 1 except naming it inside, it will set it to 100 by default. Here we go. And we're almost done. Actually, we're done with configuring the firewall in transparent mode, but if you want to manage it from the ASDM, there's 2 more steps you have to do. And the first one is you have to enable the HTTP server, so let's do HTTP server enable. It's a little confusing because it really is an HTTPS server. I mean, if you really want to get technical about it, but the command is HTTP. And then same thing for identifying the subnets that are allowed to access the ASDM, and this is just like on the routed mode on the firewall, HTTP 192.168.1.0. Do have to put in the mask here. And you also have to explicitly identify the interface to which management hosts are connected. And now we're done with the configuration of the command line. Let's open up the ASDM and take a look at that. In my browser window, I entered HTTPS 192.168.1.6, which you'll recall is the address that we configured on the firewall when we were setting it up in transparent mode, and it opens up. The main thing I want you to notice here in the device information is that the firewall mode is now set to transparent. No great surprise there, but that's where you can see it. With the ASDM open, now we can do other configuration changes. We can also do monitoring and logging, just as though we were in routed mode. Thanks for watching this SoundTraining.net Fast Learn video. You'll find additional videos, how-to guides, and information about our accelerated training programs for IT pros online at www.soundtraining.net. Training options include Cisco routers, Cisco ASA security appliances, Linux, the Apache web server, networking fundamentals, network security, and workplace skills for IT people, including customer service training, time and task management training, and IT project management training. Our 1- and 2-day workshops are designed to deliver maximum learning with minimal time away from work. Visit us online for details at www.soundtraining.net. For SoundTraining.net, from Seattle, Washington, I'm Don Crawley. See you next time.